This is the Aboriginal settlement of Cummeragunja, located on the New South Wales side of the Murray River, near the border with Victoria. It's only a small village with a population of around 100 people, of which 20 are children. Kamaraganja has a problem. It's quite literally falling apart. Thank you to the viewer who sent this in. The town is owned, if that's the right word, and managed by the Cummeragunja Local Aboriginal Land Council, one of around 120 Aboriginal land councils under the umbrella of the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council. Interestingly, if you do a search for Cummeragunja on Google Maps, they show a picture of a bulldozer and a pile of dirt. What are they trying to say? The ABC recently did a piece on Cummeragunja titled "Residents of Historic Village Refuse to Pay Rent for Crumbling Homes." They introduced the piece by saying, "In Cummeragunja, families live in decaying homes while children play on broken equipment." Here's a couple of the photos they included of the broken play equipment and the dilapidated basketball court. The first question that comes to mind is, what happened to all the money? What happened to all the billions of dollars of taxpayer money that goes towards Aboriginal affairs every year in Australia? It either doesn't filter through to the right places or is tied up in bureaucratic limbo. Although this is not particularly surprising when you read the headlines. For example, this one from the ABC from April this year. Not one new home in Binjari where Albanese made $4 billion housing promise. So if $4 billion isn't enough to build a single house, what hope does Cummeragunja have? Just to be clear, this housing issue in Cummeragunja isn't just a recent thing. The community has been struggling for a long time. For example, SBS News reported more than 10 years ago, in June 2015, housing crisis leaves Indigenous Australians in third world conditions. In the article, they specifically mention the Aboriginal village. One family in Cummeragunja, southern New South Wales, is now living in a condemned residence, claiming they have no alternative. Officially, their occupation of the home is illegal, as they're technically squatting. The local lands council has asked them to move, but they said they have nowhere to go. The condemned house has no power or running water, but 50-year-old Thelma siphons water from the nearby river. That was 2015, and based on the recent ABC article, it seems that little has improved. In the introduction, they simply state, "The village is home to about 100 people, including 20 children, but Cummeragunja is falling apart." So we can conclude that the village has been falling apart for at least 10 years. In the article, they show lots of pictures of the dilapidated settlement with sometimes ambiguous captions. For example, here's a picture of a scruffy little dog with the caption, "Spongy is never far from Coke." What does that even mean? Do they mean the soft drink or the hard drug? To be fair, I don't blame Spongy for taking some kind of stimulant. He must have lived a hard life. Of course, I jest. Coke is the owner. They state, "Coke Walker sleeps on a single bed in his lounge room. Coke says he stopped paying rent due to unaddressed maintenance issues." Referring to Mr. Walker, they state, "The 68-year-old stopped paying rent to the land council that runs the village a decade ago, claiming years of unaddressed maintenance issues. There were problems from the start, broken sliding doors, no guttering, rotting carpets. Nothing was ever fixed." Coke says the issues existed when he moved in 14 years ago and have only gotten worse. Now he only pays for electricity, just to keep the lights on. The home is infested with white ants. I can hear them at night while I'm trying to sleep. Look, I do feel for these people, but it begs the question, why is this community in such a state? They interview a lady by the name of Dr. Geraldine Atkinson, who is one of the board members of the local Aboriginal Land Council. They note, Geraldine Atkinson has defended the board's management of the village. Is she having a laugh? Has she looked outside? To be fair, she doesn't even live in the village. The article states, Geraldine Atkinson grew up in Cummeragunja, but now lives in nearby Barma. To be fair to her, she says the issue isn't with a lack of desire, but rather a lack of funding. They state, Dr. Atkinson acknowledges Cummera is in dire need of repairs, but she defends the board's management of the village, saying there is simply not enough funding. She says that with dwindling rent income, the board has limited options to help fix up homes. So basically, due to the poor conditions, people are choosing to stop paying the rent, resulting in less funding to fix the houses, leading to further decay. It's a vicious cycle. Regarding the tenants not paying rent, Dr. Atkinson said, "There would be no way we'd be able to say to people living in Kamaraganja, 'We are going to kick you out of your house because you're not paying the rent.' That is immoral." The article states the village has 23 houses, but 6 are abandoned and in disrepair. According to council board members, only 5 households at Cummera are paying rent. There is also other income, with the article noting, like all 120 New South Wales Aboriginal Land Councils, it was paid a yearly grant of $161,000. All of the grant and more was chewed up by insurance, repair costs, council rates, and administrative expenses. They also note that the amount of rent outstanding was $580,000. So basically, the local land council is in a financial mess, and residents are growing tired of it. Uncle Colin Walker is the 90-year-old father of Coke, who blames the local Aboriginal Council for this disaster. He said, "In the last 50 years, Cummeragunja has deteriorated something terrible. Why pay rent if the houses aren't livable? When we were kids, some of the houses were better than the houses we have now." Another local elder, Auntie Monica Morgan, says she's frustrated with the local land council, saying, "The land council are letting the houses decay to such a level that it's easy for us to be moved on. We are being ruled by people outside Cummeragunja. Majority of people do not pay rent because of their maltreatment of us and the absolute decay of the houses." She says she's asked New South Wales Aboriginal Affairs Minister David Harris to visit Kamaraganja to see the state of the village, but she is still waiting for a response. She said, "I think the whole New South Wales Land Council system needs to be reviewed." They also interview another local elder, Auntie Nora Elsley, who said, "You can look around, nothing's been done. It's a disgrace. Cummeragunja used to have beautiful houses years ago." According to the article, the local Aboriginal Council has a volunteer board of 7 people, all with the surname Atkinson. They also state that some of the board members grew up in Cummeragunja, but none of them live in the village. Most are based in Shepparton, 45 minutes away. Auntie Nora simply asked, "How can one family control the whole board? They don't live here. Why don't we get to vote who is on the board and is the CEO? We've got kids here who are educated, who could run things." The article also mentions that the local land council has 1 full-time paid chief executive. Given the council's financial mess, that's certainly an interesting detail, especially since the rest of the board is entirely volunteer. The article doesn't state who the CEO is, which on its own seems a little odd. But as we've already discovered, things are rarely what they seem. Anyway, you get the idea. Despite all the promises of improving Aboriginal people's lives, we still have towns in Australia which are essentially falling apart, despite the best efforts of the local Aboriginal Land Council, whose members don't even live there.